Yeah, TPOT 14 came out like right after the orange guy got elected. That's something, I guess. But depression aside, let's get talk about TPOT 14. It was honestly pretty damn good. Pretty much everything in this episode is really solid. It was super enjoyable to watch it when it came out. But there are obviously some flaws in the episode because perfection is merely an illusion created by the upper class to look down at the middle class. Sorry, where was I? Oh yeah, so we're going to review everything good and bad because there was a lot of that in this episode. And if you end up liking this video, please consider subscribing because we're super close to 3k, and if you didn't already, if I hit 3k before the end of the year, I will turn my profile picture into this capybara. Because like, just look at it bro, it's super cute. So yeah, let's get into it. First of all, I think it's important to first recap briefly what this episode was about. We started off with everyone cleaning up the mess from the storm last episode while Pencil is trying to get Book and Icy to join alliance with her while she acts like a mania who hasn't seen sunlight in 7 years. Probably because she hasn't. And then the failed debutators do the CapCut steak and 2 gets emo because his girlfriend got out. Then the challenge starts and the same stuff as always happens. Golfball getting neglected by her team for close to no reason at all, some random conflict because yes, oh and also we got to see where Fiery Jr. ended up, so that's kind of cool I guess. We also got this fucking Mario looking odd dumbass over here for no reason at all. Everyone teaming up against Claudia, which didn't even matter because winner's lava proof now for some reason despite not having the ability in TPOT 5. And yeah, that's kind of it. But then there's the after credit scene where match ends up where BFB post split happened and sees Bubble and Ruby. And that's what you missed on Inanimate's, wait a minute, that's the wrong show. Please cut that out while editing. So yeah, that was all that happened this episode. Now to get to the actual review. Let's start off like I always do with the animation and visuals. And yeah, no, it's just as good compared to the other episodes in terms of animation quality and visuals. And that's a good thing because, well, both of these things are spot on this episode. The animation still feels as alive as ever, and now with really cool backgrounds to complement this. We saw really cool looking animation effects this time around, like the dragon at the lava mountain and this cool looking spinning effect from Black Hole 2. Which is not much, but hey, I might as well mention it. Oh, and speaking of the mountain, can we just take a moment to appreciate all of the new backgrounds that we got this episode? Like seriously, we have an ice and lava mountain / volcano, the cabin where Fiery Jr. lives, the upside down city inside of Two's head, the caves underneath in the icy mountain, and we could even count the remains of the hotel and some of the rooms inside the city. All of these new locations make for an amazing visual experience while watching this episode, and I think it's safe to say that the visuals and animation are better than they ever have before. And plus, the Jack and Jelly team could have easily just made the challenge to clean out the mess from the last episode and easily cut out on all these amazing visuals without anyone batting an eye, but instead they made this challenge and get all these super cool backgrounds, which is a move I really respect because that means that they actually care about the show and not just some money grab. So yeah, animation and visuals are fantastic, 10 out of 10, we should let them cook a 5-course meal next time. Next, let's talk about the voice acting. Now, I know I repeat myself too many times to count in this topic, but the voice acting is always super good in every TPOT episode with no exceptions. All of the characters have super fitting voices and they just never seem to disappoint. But there is actually something else I want to talk about in regards to this topic. The failed TPOT debuters, what else? And yes, you can definitely argue that we already heard some of their voices before in the latest TPOT show, but that's actually not officially a TPOT episode, so screw you, I win. Nothing much though, I just really love their voices and some fit really well like Rubber Spatula and the Shell guy. And come to think of it, I don't think many people appreciate that out of the 100-ish characters in the BFDI franchise, all the voices are super good, and I feel like we shouldn't take that for granted so much anymore. And now for the bait of my existence in every goddamn episode I review, the writing / plot. Now, if you want a really quick rundown, it was like if TPOT 13 and BFDIA 15 had a baby. With severe ADHD issues. Like, okay, the writing wasn't actually that bad. There was clearly a good structure laid out for the episode. It was just kind of executed poorly. Some scenes like 2 reacting to Katie's elimination are done right, and there was a challenge plot similar to TPOT 13, and that episode was amazing. So where did the writing go wrong? In my opinion, it was the pacing. It just felt like a repeat of BFDI 15 all over again, but now with references from the past episodes. They just don't really let the scenes get time to breathe, and they're just constantly unnecessary distractions poured in everywhere. And a fellow OSC YouTuber, Okie Koki, did a very good job at explaining this in my opinion. The main issue is that the pacing is way too fast. I noticed that in recent BFDI episodes, the pacing is always too fast and they never give you any time to digest what's happening. This episode in particular made me feel that way more than any episode ever has before. They just kept referencing so much shit this episode, like why did you add in the fight scene from the last episode? It worked well in TPOT 13 because of the situation and the setting. Here they're just about to fight this plant, and like you didn't need to reuse this. This episode is so close to being amazing, but there's just so many things that pull it down for me. And not gonna lie, they kind of have a point. And if Okikoki is somehow watching this and didn't want me to steal your opinion, then sorry girl. But still, it's not just that. The plotlines that happen in this episode are mixed. For example, the whole arc where Gothel is trying to manage her team while they all just ignore her is continued and done right this episode. It's subtle and they don't shove it in your face that much. Meanwhile, while this whole pencil/free smart arc seems interesting, it's definitely more exaggerated than it needs to be. But it is kind of fitting at the same time because Pencil doesn't really have friends anymore and Book and Icy is all that she could really hope for. I feel like if this arc goes on for several more episodes, then it's going to get very stale and annoying quickly. In my opinion, if this arc ended in TPOT 15 or 16 with a final 1-to-1 tuck with both of them, it could honestly be a pretty good arc, but all we can do is hope. And speaking of arcs, I'm kind of sad that we didn't get much of one this episode. All we got was a little moment of one in a paper looking at Gady inside of two. Okay, no, this one just makes no sense at all. What the fuck were you thinking? But besides that, I guess we could have used a break from all this one stuff considering that they were pretty much the main character last episode. I guess I just love Laura a bit too much, but hey, what can you do? Oh yeah, and let's talk about the last scene as well. While I do see this as being the slightest bit unnecessary, I honestly really love it and I really want this to be continued in the next episode. Or you can make us wait 4 years to let us see how it continues like with the Exiters. But no, that wouldn't be too funny, sorry. And finally, instead of ending the review here like every other review I've ever done, I'm actually going to share some of my personal opinions which are just completely subjective and you really don't have to agree with this at all. But hey, I might as well just include them, why the hell not? Number 1, I feel like Tree should have gotten out this episode. It felt like Gady was going to be an actual interesting character sometime in the future, while Tree was just kind of there, preventing death and creating trust, like always. I could be wrong about Gady, but I still really like her and hope we get to see more of her inside of 2. Secondly, I feel like after this episode, we should get an episode solely revolving around the eliminated contestants, and maybe throw in a rejoin as well. I feel like a lot of people really want to see some of these characters again, and getting 1 or 2 of them to rejoin could be great. But then again, we kind of already had this in TPOT 11, so this is kind of unlikely, but hey, I could dream, right? Lastly, I feel like the team with the notes should get some sort of arc in the future, because at the moment, every other team has something going for them while they kind of just don't, and especially with the Racer eliminated, therefore ending the Racer Ball rivalry, that just strengthens my point more. So I hope we get something like that soon. It could be about anything really. And there you have it. That was my full, unhinged opinion about every single little thing about TPOT 14. While it was very good in some aspects, it severely lacked in others, so it was kind of a mixed bag in my opinion. It definitely had potential, but it was just kind of wasted. If TPOT started to cool down the scenes a little bit like in TPOT 9, there could be a lot of potential for TPOT in the future, and I know Jack and Jeffy is capable of doing that. They know how to make good episodes like in TPOT 9, 10, 11, and 13, and if they keep up the animation and visuals, TPOT can perhaps be one of the best shows in OSC history, and well, I really hope that happens. But again, all we could do is hope, and with all that said, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.